Joining Captain America on his mission to take on Hydra, it's the Slice of Gaming crew. Needless to say, we're all doomed. And we'd like to thank you for giving a slice of your time to tune in to a Slice of Gaming podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Radio Public, Audible. And be sure to follow us on A Slice of Gaming on Twitter. Got a crazy week. It's finally that date of March, 22nd of... we got 3 big releases across all platforms, so we're going to be talking about all that, as well as other little news stories that have dropped throughout the week. Joining me on this episode for March 22nd is Bench.
I am here.
Wolf.
Speak for yourself about getting your ass kicked by Team Hydra. I'll kick their asses, all right? I played Wolfenstein.
And Fusion.
I did not believe that he would win that fight, honestly, but I'll rid him from the sideline.
It's like he believes he's BJ Blazkowicz. Anyways, if I was there, the war would turn out different. So
wait, wait, hang on. You make it sound like I'm on the opposite side then, because we won.
No, we lost because we failed.
Wait, are we talking about real history or Wolfenstein history?
I don't know anymore. We've lost the joke.
We won World War II. I was supporting the Allies.
Just covering our bases. We support the Allies. Anyway, so we're just gonna make a quick announcement, as those who have been watching us know about our fantasy critic that we started at the beginning of the year. We figured quarterly updates would be fun, especially since a lot of the big releases, at least that we know of 2024, are out now. So it'd be fun to catch up, see what we've all bid on, see who's winning, see who's flailing in last place, and so that'll be a good time to check in on that next week. So join us next week as we do that. We might include the video portion. I don't know if that might be interesting or not to have the video, but we'll see. Anyway, so moving on to the actual news for this week, it's Wolf.
Yes, sir. We got a pretty slow news week, but as Min alluded to, this is March 22nd, the day that we've kind of all been, I guess, hyping up for, because there's a lot of big releases.
Hyping up, dreading, pick your poison.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh my god, there's so many games to play. But we still got some news, and our first news story is more of an update, if anything, and it's kind of just like some updates on the PlayStation 5 Pro specs. Something that we kind of we literally talked about it. It was our main news story last week. And now we got some more updates over from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming. Following this week's leaks on PlayStation 5 Pro GPU specs and performance targets, Insider Gaming has learned more PlayStation 5 Pro specs. For comparison's sake, we also include the specifications of the standard PS5. System memory, standard is at 448 gigabytes. PlayStation 5 Pro is 576 gigabytes, 28% increase over the standard console. CPU is identical to the PlayStation 5, but the Pro has a high CPU frequency mode, which takes the CPU to 3.85 gigahertz, a 10% increase. Audio, the ACV in the PlayStation 5 Pro runs at a higher clock speed over the standard, resulting in the ACM library having 35% more performance. GPU, which was previously revealed, we talked all about that. Rendering 45% faster, 33.5 teraflops, all that good stuff. It's also understood that as a means to make the PlayStation 5 Pro as competitive as possible, it would have a detachable disk drive, which will be identical to the latest iteration of the PS5, and the 1 terabyte of storage space. Currently, the Pro is running on SKD 9.0, and SKD 10.0 is expected in fall 2024, which is the current targeted release date of the console. Now, I don't know tech, so...
Teraflops.
Fusion? Does that do anything?
Yeah, the CPU is a little odd that they're really not upgrading at all. I'm going to assume it is to like cut down on the cost, because if they upgrade the CPU as well, they're probably getting to a point where it's like, this might be an $800 machine, and I'm sure PlayStation's like, we can't sell a console for this price. I'm sure they could get away with it, but
not as much as they want to.
Yeah, exactly. Not as much as they want to. So the CPU being basically the same is a little bit of a bummer, because CPU bottlenecks do exist. And like, we're already seeing certain people in the industry like Digital Foundry talk about, hey, there's already so many CPU intense games right now, like Dragon's Dogma 2 is one of them. GTA will probably be another one. Like, it won't even matter if this GPU is so much more beefier if the CPU is the exact same, because if your game's so CPU bottlenecked, it's CPU bottleneck. That's how it comes down to. But everything else, I was genuinely surprised when we heard last week about how much bigger and how much better the GPU was going to be. So that's still really cool to see. I wish maybe it came with more like storage, but again, I feel like they're trying to give you as much power as they humanly can without putting the price double. Like they're not trying to push. I feel like they want to stick around like 600, maybe 650. And I feel like if they start upgrading the storage and the CPU and everything else, it just starts to get out of hand where they're already going to sell this at a loss probably. They can't go in a deeper loss. So they're doing as much as they can, which should in the end work very, very well. Like we should see maybe not drastic, but we should see improvements on a lot of games. So it's going to be cool, but it does feel like they're holding back a little bit just because they're like, hey, we can't put an $800 console out there.
So about the CPU, I did want to bring this in. Digital Foundry, Okami Games has this. Digital Foundry confirms the reported PS5 Pro specs from Insider Gaming and Moore's Law is Dead with some new details. New info from Digital Foundry. PSSR could potentially be BC with older PS5 games with a patch. Oh, backwards compatible. That's it. 13.7 gigabytes of faster RAM for PS5 Pro compared to 12.5 gigabytes on PS5. PS5 Pro will use RDNA 3 with 60 CUs compared to 38 RDNA 2 CUs on a PS5. This is all going over my head, I'll be honest with you guys. And then up to a 3.85 gigahertz CPU clock speed on PS5 Pro, 10% increase. So it seems like they are improving it slightly. Do you think that's going to matter much in the grand scheme of things?
On CPU bound games, I really don't. But again, I know tech, but I'm not like super like Digital Foundry level. So maybe I think you'll definitely see some minor gains, but you're not going to see anything massive. I think, which is why I think they're going the route of the RDNA 3 and the super sampling that they want to do themselves. Because if they're able to get away with basically creating fake frames that still feel good, which is what DLSS and FSR and everything, all that is, if they can get like away with that, then it doesn't really matter that your CPU wasn't upgraded that much.
Do you think it's gonna? Because there was a lot of insider reports, or not insiders, but analysts, basically saying like this won't affect GTA 6 at 30. It's still gonna be at 30 for the PS5 Pro even. Do you believe all that?
I don't want to, but if it's true, like I genuinely think if it is, it's only because of the CPU. That's the only thing it will come down to. Everything the new GPU that they're talking about in the power could 100% do GTA 6. And I think it more comes down to what GTA and Rockstar wants to do. If Rockstar's like, hey, we'll make a 1440p 60 FPS version, like a performance mode, we can get 60. But everyone's just assuming Rockstar is going to give us only one mode to play on, and it's going to be full native 4K because Rockstar likes that style of game. They want their game to look real life. So everyone's just assuming that's what we're getting, and if that's what we're getting, they could be right that even the PS5 Pro will struggle a bit to hit 60 FPS.
It is kind of almost a deal breaker for me if GTA 6 won't be at 60, because then it's like, okay, I have no real reason to get this thing. Like,
yeah, it will be
sure,
rough.
it's stronger, sure, but like my games look fine enough on PS5. Like I'm pretty satisfied with the system outside of frame rate, and if this thing isn't gonna help with frame rate still with the PS5 Pro, then I'm like, okay, well I have no reason to. Like I just want higher frames. That's all I care about, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you
Benjamin,
there.
Benjamin, you guys been quiet. Did you have any thoughts on any of these new details?
I mean, I'm definitely gonna buy it, and I don't think any information will sway me one way or the other, so don't have much to say.
Got that Apple product in you.
He's a Sony phony, bro. Through and through, he makes sure Sony releases something, he's there.
I can sell my original PS5 and get like a quarter or a little over that towards it, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that's really all it comes down to. It's like nothing about this, especially after what Fusion explains. I'm sure more details, and even people who know even more than Fusion do will come out with more details. It just doesn't sound like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like absolutely necessary. But if I can get it for like, a good $200 off or something like that, and if I'm only spending like maybe 200, 300, then sure, why not? Whatever little upgrades that is going to come with it is going to be worth it. But at like a full price console, it's not going to be worth it for me. So GameStop, you better pull through for me.
Hopefully they're still in business.
Hopefully they're still in
Hey,
business
whoa.
by next year.
End of the year. Come on. Gotta have faith in that GameStop stock, baby. To the moon.
To the moon. Got my diamond hands ready.
To keep us in the PlayStation realm, Okami has this other story. Sony has reportedly paused production of PSVR 2 units due to a backlog of unsold units. And that was originally a report from Bloomberg. I'm going to hit this with a resounding not surprised. It seems like
Wowzers.
PSVR 2 was not what Sony wanted it to be. Partly because they didn't even try with this thing, if I'm being honest. It really feels like they sent it out to die at that ridiculous price point and just no games to play on it other than like what Horizon and maybe a couple of other smaller exclusives. But if you're wanting to get into the VR space is already small, and if you want to get into the VR space, you know, you're gonna get like a Quest or you're gonna get a Vive or any of Oculus, all these other products. Why would you get a PSVR 2?
Wasn't the original like rumor that this was more a Sony initiative than PlayStation?
Yeah, it was the Sony, according to, I think it was Jeff who said this, Jeff Grubb, friend of the show. He was very much like, Sony likes to do tech. They like technology. They like to have their designers and technical people do all that stuff. While PlayStation, they don't really think about it that way. They're just thinking about sales and the products, you know, getting it to consumers. So it seems like it's like, okay, you guys can do the tech of the PSVR 2 and go crazy with it. We are not gonna like make our first party studios like Naughty Dog make like a Last of Us VR game. Like, no, we're not gonna waste our resources doing that. We're gonna have them make the next Last of Us game. I'm curious, how long does VR 2 have for this world, do you guys think? Is it
VR in general will always be around because it's always going to get better, but specifically PSVR, I don't see it having very high, very much longer.
I could see it take off if it gets PC compatibility, because from everyone that like used it, it's a very well-made piece of hardware. Like, they didn't skimp out on anything. It's just too expensive. It only works on PS5 with hardly any games. So if they overcome that barrier and bring it to a new audience, I'm sure it could probably find something.
Yeah, I doubt. We will never see a PSVR 3. I think this is their last attempt.
It's just the 2 SKU approach doesn't work anymore. It worked in the PS3 era because, well, games were a lot less money to develop. They took a lot less time to make. You know, like Naughty Dog was releasing like 4 games on the PS3, and you know, you could have developers do like, hey, here's this team that's doing like our PlayStation 3 games, and then we have PSP games, and then we have Vita games, all that stuff. That worked in that era because it was a lot easier and cheaper to make games. That doesn't work anymore, and you're not going to create a whole new studio just to make PSVR 2 games. So at this point, it's like, okay, well, let's just stick to 1 SKU. And that kind of comes down to the Sony handheld rumors as well. If that Sony handheld does exist, it's just going to play PS5 games. It's not going to be a Vita 2 situation.
It's going to be just another Portal, basically.
Yeah, basically a Portal, but like instead of streaming, you actually natively play, most likely.
Well, that actually sounds kind of good.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, Xbox had that too.
Like a Steam Deck can play a chunk of the PS5 games, so they just have to like make it with that in mind eventually.
Yeah. Moving on. You guys ready to talk about Overwatch 2?
Oh, I'm always ready.
Am I ever.
That's my favorite shooter of the last 5 years.
Oh, Overwatch 2's future PvE content has reportedly been permanently canceled. And I put in quotes, again. This comes from Jordan.
This was on our very first episode.
Yeah, you know how time flies, am I right? Jordan Midler at VGC has this. According to Bloomberg, the PvE mode, which received 3 missions in 2023, will receive no more content. They got 3 missions out, and they were like, "Oh, we're done. We can't do this anymore."
We peaked.
Due to the initial pack selling poorly, it's also claimed that as a part of a company-wide reduction in staff, the game's PvE department was heavily affected. Quote, Overwatch 2 developers were informed that the company does not plan to finish any of the remaining planned PvE content, according to Bloomberg. The report also claims that in late 2023, members of the Overwatch 2 team were told that, quote, based on the game's poor financial performance in the first half of the year, they shouldn't have received anything in regards to performance-related bonuses. Yeah, That's there were another thing they actually mentioned in this article. Blizzard announced this week that Overwatch 2 Heroes will be released at will be free at release starting with the launch of Season 10 in mid-April. In a developer update released on a Tuesday, game director Aaron Keller said players will no longer have to purchase the premium battle pass to unlock new characters at release or grind for hours to unlock them through a free track of the battle pass. So a lot of people, I actually saw this on Twitter. It was like, wait, it's canceled? Like, I thought it was already canceled. Well, the progression system was initially canceled. The whole like campaign, and it was going to be more similar to an archives, like an event type deal where, hey, this event comes out, you play the missions, these are story missions, all that good stuff. And now they're like, okay, never mind, we're not even doing that. So PvE is just completely dead for Overwatch 2 outside of maybe an event like Uprising. And I said famously on that episode, this news hit me like a jackhammer, and I'll say it again, even though jackhammer is the weirdest analogy I know. I don't know what I was thinking.
So,
but
when do we make a shirt out of that?
We should.
Probably hit me like a jackhammer.
So what you're telling me is Overwatch 2 is actually just Overwatch 1.
What? It's always been Overwatch 1. It's just they called it Overwatch 2 because they wanted some type of marketing push to try to save the game, and it didn't work. Even though the game was doing perfectly fine, and then they decided to shift all their resources for Overwatch 2. It fucking wasted their time because they didn't even get the PvE stuff that people actually wanted because Bobby Kotick is a dumbass. And even with Bobby Kotick gone, apparently Blizzard still can't run themselves. So I don't even know what's happening anymore. It's just clear they want to try to focus this into being a PvP game. But like, this was a waste of like 5 years of development. We started with Overwatch 1. There was no more content updates in like 2019, or at least substantial ones, since Echo released. She was like the last character for Overwatch 1. And then from there, we just had multiple years of like little drops like, oh, here's a new deathmatch map. And that's really it. It was just completely dry until Overwatch 2 came out. And then Overwatch 2 sucked. And it was completely flustered with all this crap. And I know like Bop still plays it. And he talks about like, oh, this is, good for them to focus fully on PvP, because what's it called? PvE was already dead. But it just feels like a waste of this IP to say, hey, all that stuff about campaign mode, which people have wanted like some type of single player content since 2016.
Yeah, it's like single player content for these characters that you like.
Yeah, like at the very least, like a TV show, a movie. Why doesn't Overwatch have an Arcane? Like, that is insane to me that they didn't even think about having a situation like that when Arcane came out. It's a waste. It just feels like a complete waste of this incredible IP. And I'm just done with Overwatch. I just gave up. I don't care anymore. But to the people who still play, I hope it's still doing something. Moving on. This probably should have been the second story, but I just wanted to make fun of Overwatch again. Uncharted directors Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra revealed. This is Andy Robinson over at VGC. Marvel and Skydance New Media have unveiled Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, the game being helmed by director Amy Hennig. Revealed during an Unreal Engine at GDC, the game stars Drew Moreland as Captain America and Carrie Payton as Black Panther and will release for unspecified platforms in 2025. Quote, in the chaos of war, worlds collide, a synopsis reads, Skydance New Media and Marvel Games share an original story where an ensemble of 4 heroes must overcome their differences and form an uneasy alliance to confront their common enemy. According to Skydance, the narrative-driven ensemble adventure will have players controlling an ensemble of 4 characters. A young Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, Azuri, T'Challa's grandfather, and the World War II era Black Panther, Gabriel Jones, a U.S. soldier and member of the Howling Commandos, and Nanali, leader of the fledgling Wakanda spy network. This game is the first title from Skydance New Media, a studio formed in 2019 by Hollywood production company Skydance. So this was at, they didn't mention it in the article, this is at the Unreal Engine Showcase, which is kind of a wild place to reveal a brand new game by the Uncharted director. But if you're going to reveal it, they did a good job because goddamn, this game looks way better than I expected it to be.
The game looks dope, man. I'm like, we got that teaser like 2 years ago. I remember, I think about the teaser like probably once a month, not that often, but often enough where I'm like, that teaser always brought me in, like with the music they used. And I kind of like, we'll go through phases where I forget this game even existed until obviously this week when we got this big trailer and like, genuinely graphically, I know graphics and budget, everything, it's a big talk right now in video game space, but like, this is like maybe the best graphically like faces I've ever seen in
Oh, yeah.
what they showed the other, which is crazy because I felt like GTA 6 we already got that in that trailer like 3 months ago, and then we got this one, and to me it's like night and day already. I'm like, whatever they're doing in this trailer with Unreal Engine 5 looks insane.
Yeah, it looked good.
It feels like, I'll be honest, like one of the first next gen looking games outside of GTA 6, where it's like this really does not feel like it could have been happening on the previous generation.
It's
And
gonna be 30 FPS.
no, don't say that, Fusion. It's gonna be on PC. You'll be fine.
Hopefully.
I mean, it will. The only developers that don't release stuff on PC are Nintendo and Rockstar.
It's really
Is this-
you'll be fine statement. It's just how many unoptimized PC ports do we got out there? A lot.
That's true. That's true. I mean, we'll talk.
Is
about
this
one
on
of them later.
PS5 and Xbox Series?
Unspecified
Yes.
platforms?
I think. Well, I'm pretty. Yeah, I assume it would be everything. There's no way. There's no,
I mean,
no way.
You don't think PlayStation would be like, "Hey, Amy, you did Uncharted games for us.
Yeah.
How about a little bit of a check?" I don't think that's gonna happen, but
I think they would love to do that, but
They didn't leave on great terms, did they?
it was Amy and Naughty Dog that left in bad
Okay.
terms. Sony, I don't think really got much affected by that.
Is it
I'm very
Epic
excited
Games
just
Store
because
exclusive?
it's probably gonna be Epic Games Store exclusive if it's Unreal Engine, and
Oh,
if
it-
it's at
it
the
will be
Unreal
on-
Engine event.
yeah.
Especially after they said that Epic's going to be paying or like giving 100% of profit or revenue to people who make it exclusive for like the first 6 months. It's most likely going to be Epic exclusive.
Yeah, which I didn't add that, but that's still kind of crazy to me. I don't know why Epic, that's great, but like actually fix the storefront first and foremost so that they will get the sales they need to financially make it. I don't know, man. That's like a whole nother topic because there's issues with the Epic Game Store that I know Fusion you talked about having one episode.
Yeah, I didn't think about this game being Epic exclusive, which is like it's fine, whatever. I'm like I said, I'm not as big as a baby about it as other people in the PC front, but like it's definitely a thing.
Called out.
Well, no, some people are just like I can understand if you're like an avid PC gamer for the last 20 years and you were on Steam for 2 decades, and then Epic comes in and they start shaking it up because before it was genuinely just Steam, really. You just everything was
yeah.
on Steam. You play on Steam, and then Epic came through and we're like, hey, we're gonna take some games away now, lock them to our platform. It's a little annoying, but like for me, who just like, I think they both work well enough. Steam is obviously better, but like Epic's at least in a way better spot where like games like this, like Alan Wake 2 launched perfectly fine, optimized well, like everything was working well with that game when it launched. So like I have no doubts. Where like back in the day, a few years ago, when your game was only on Epic, there was a little bit of like, whoa, this game, like we gotta see this game in action first before it drops. But now it's more like you're usually okay.
I know people personally who, if it's Epic Game Store exclusive, they're just not going to play it.
Yeah, I know people like that who will just wait. They're like, oh, it'll come to Steam one day. I'm like, I guess more power to you.
Personally,
And then there's me who
I,
would just buy it on Xbox.
I'm personally excited for this just because I am such an Amy Hennig stan. I think
She's a goat.
she's a genius, and it was unfortunate the last 10 years of her career, like one of them being so mired, like just a long time of like the big exit at Naughty Dog, and like very much there was a rough exit at that time. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna work on an Uncharted style game for Visceral at, at EA," and they were like, "Never mind," which is just like fucked up in and of itself. So to see her games finally come back and like she's actually gonna be able to release a game, thank God, I'm very much excited for it. I am just curious. I know I sound like such a licensed game hater, but like I want to see them really do something different with Captain America and Black Panther because with the MCU, I feel like a lot of those both of those characters feel kind of, I don't want to say played out, but like I kind of got enough of Captain America, especially with the ending of Endgame. Do you guys think like these two are gonna have like a really strong dynamic where it's like, wow, this is a brand new look at Captain America and Black Panther that make me really appreciate these characters 10 times more?
It's mostly going to be based on the fact that it's going to be working the angle of the story where they don't trust each other. They're not going to get along for probably a good half of the game. and then of course they'll work together by the end because that's how all those stories work. But yeah, that's about it.
I'm a sucker for the uneasy alliance, so that immediately sold me.
I mean, yeah, and I do hope we know a whole lot of nothing about the game, but I mean, I hope it is not like setting up for a sequel or something. Like a one and done game of this type would be really refreshing.
I'm already
100%.
invested. I'm already like the voice acting, the character. I'm invested already. I thought it was a really good trailer. I'm like, dude, let's see it. I want to see the gameplay, which I think I could be wrong,
That's
but I know
wrong,
people are
yeah.
like, we haven't seen gameplay. I swear there's a part in that trailer that's maybe 1.5 seconds long of Captain America where I'm like, this could be gameplay. Like it was an over-the-shoulder, Uncharted like
Finisher
shot
move.
where I'm like, that could be it. That could be gameplay. Which I'm going to assume we all would think is a third person. Did they say it's third person or no?
It's third person. Like I think it's pretty clear.
It
Just
has
from,
to
like,
be.
the
It's not
camera
even
angles.
like
She's like, oh, actually, this is first person, guys. Like she would have said something.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's clear. Like, I think when people say they want to see the gameplay, they want to see like a full on demo and like
Yeah, that's
how
what
does
I'm
Captain
waiting for.
America play.
Yeah.
What
That'll be at the
that's
showcase.
also what I'm rooting for.
PS Showcase, here we come.
I mean,
We're not getting a showcase until like next showcase. This is a holiday 2025 game.
most likely. I mean, do you think like any gameplay by the end of this year, or is this the only showing we get this
There
whole year?
might be some kind of like early tease showing at like Game Awards or something like that because they're gonna want to go after the MCU fans for this. So they're gonna try to put it as many like public places as they can. So like the Game Awards will probably be a really good spot and be like, here's some gameplay, here's like a somewhat deep dive into the story. Here's why you should care about this older version of Black Panther and World War II Captain America. Then there's be like holiday 2025. It's like I can see it all now.
I watched that trailer. I'm hyped. That trailer you just made up right now. It's like, damn, I'm ready.
I was actually kind of surprised how much Marvel pushed it. Like Marvel had they put out a whole article by themselves on Marvel.com. Like they were about it. Marvel was like, yeah, we're making this game
Because they realized what happened with Midnight Suns. They're like, oh shit, we can't do that again.
Yeah, I'd hope they'd push it with how like big budget it looks. It's like we should probably get our money back on this one.
I wonder what that budget is going to be. And this is a brand new studio.
Oh yeah, and I want to mention like a lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't be glazing this. This is why games are like over budgeted, and it's like we have had this conversation all the time on the show. When we see good graphics, we're gonna say they're good graphics. We're not gonna talk about like, oh, this is the problem with the industry. We're gonna go, no, it looks good. Like it's hard to deny that. Like
obviously, reactionary creatures.
This is the same studio that's working on the Star Wars game, so they have 2 licensed games.
Are they?
Yeah, they're working with Lucasfilm.
There's so many Star Wars games in development.
Lucasfilm games, Star Wars fatigued. Yeah, we are, but
hey, if we get good games out of it, I don't care.
Hypocrite.
Well, yeah, of course I'm a hypocrite. Okay, listen, I'm a hypocrite with good games. That's why. Like if Jedi Survivor was a bit better, then I'd be like, oh yeah, more Star Wars. Moving on. Bungie's Marathon gets a new director. While its mobile-like game is in a holding pattern, this is Palm Ivan over at VGC. Bungie has changed Marathon's game director, reportedly as part of a wider shakeup of the project's creative leadership team. While Christopher Barrett was Marathon's game director when the sci-fi extraction shooter was announced last year, the Bungie veteran has since been replaced. Former Valorant game director Joe Ziegler, who left Riot Games to join Bungie in 2022, has since stepped into the role. According to IGN, Ziegler publicly announced his position as director shortly after the publication had caught wind of the changes behind the scenes and approached the studio for comment. And then this is a tweet from Ziegler. Hey everyone, fun update. For the last 9 months I've been working on the Marathon. On Marathon as the game director. We're still baking, but I'm excited to share with you more info on the game as we get closer and closer to bringing it all to you. Sources told IGN that a number of changes have been made to Marathon under Ziegler's watch, including moving away from custom player characters to a selectable cast of heroes.
Apparently, this change in leadership happened like 9 months ago. And if you do like the time, yeah, apparently it happened like a long time ago, and this is just now breaking.
No. I don't think that was it. I think it was that they had a director all the way up until 9 months ago, and then that person left, 9 months ago, and then this guy's just been director for like 9 months, and then now recently he left. That's how I read that.
No, I thought that I saw on Twitter and stuff that apparently the director who like announced the game at like the showcase left 9 months ago.
Are you talking about the Paul Tassi tweet?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, let me pull that up. Fusion, you were interested in Marathon, did you? Is this scaring you?
No, I'm full on the Bungie belief train. I feel like I'm the last one. I'm like
the worst time to do it.
I'm the last one that exists that trusts Bungie. This it's always going to be odd when you shift directors, no matter what the project is. So a little pushback, but it's a Valorant director. Like he was formerly on Valorant, and Valorant is one of the best shooters of the last decade. And the fact that he's bringing over like hero elements, and he wants to like have more hero focus instead of like your custom character focus, I'm all about, because like as long as the gameplay loop of the escape like extraction style shooter is there, like I'm fine with whatever you do with the characters. And the Valorant has like amazing characters and amazing character design, so like they're in good hands from that perspective. I'm more so of like, I just want the game to actually come out, and this, I don't think it's gonna get canceled, but there's been too many weird Bungie things lately, especially on the PlayStation Live service side, where it's just like you always have something in the back of your head where you're like, this, we could just wake up and it could get canceled. Like it could just totally be like, well, we're out of here.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's all about the final shape. Sorry, Bench, go ahead.
And I do, if what I said was true, like the guy had been replaced 9 months ago, that means that he announced the game, and like a couple of weeks later, the timeline is that he left.
Okay, I found the tweet. Paul Tassi says, one thing that makes the timeline bizarre here is that if Ziegler is saying that he had been Marathon game director for 9 months, Barrett would have left quite literally weeks after the reveal, where he was heavily featured to debut the game. So Barrett was the previous game director, and then this guy was at Bungie for 9 months.
Yeah.
And recently he left. So this wasn't, like, this is he recently left. It's not he left 9 months ago and we're hearing about it now.
Okay. But I do think it's, PlayStation's going to take over Bungie, I think. It needs,
it's all
honestly,
about the final shape.
I'm honestly on team they need a PlayStation takeover at this point, because whatever they're doing is not working.
They are very much against it, though, over at Bungie. There's been a lot of insider reports that they're just like, the last thing we want is PlayStation to fully take us over.
Well, and apparently, like, in 2026, that's when their, like, final pay comes in from the acquisition, and apparently there's going to be, like, a max exodus then.
That is frightening. I mean, it all comes, again, it's like the final shape, that has to do well for them. And if they can, like, kind of get back some, like, goodwill from the community with final shape, and then, like, kind of get that over into Marathon, hopefully that would be enough for Bungie to be in a safe position, and people are like, oh yeah, actually we like Bungie again. But it's going to be harder and harder to believe that.
I'm jumping back into Destiny. Look at my money.
What, for that Ghostbusters DLC? Greg?
No, me and my buds are like, we should probably get, like, we kind of want to jump back in before the final shape. Like, knock out the DLCs we've missed.
How far did you get?
We went through the first 3 DLCs, so there's now 4 that we haven't got through. The last 4 we haven't been able to play. Like, we should stop playing. But I still think, as long as this game does come out, like, Bungie's still, I think, a giant in the shooter space where, like, Marathon will have incredible hype around it. Like, once it finally gets actual footage, and that, like, if the game looks good, obviously, but, like, once the moment is like, hey, this is Marathon, blowout, this is what the game looks like, blah, 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 this is the date, like, there's going to be a lot of people there for Marathon. Okay, it's a new Bungie shooter. Like, Bungie, at least at the very least, they make great shooters. Like, their video games feel as good as it gets on the shooter side.
I definitely agree with you there. Like, just from a pure shooting standpoint, Bungie is some of the best in the business. And mostly from the learned, like, carryovers from Halo going into Destiny. Like, those games feel phenomenal just to shoot in. It all comes down to Marathon. Like, what's the actual gameplay loop? You know, you got the shooting down. How is it? What am I doing in this game? And how are you going to, like, take me away from my other live service shooters, like a Call of Duty or a Destiny that could be competing with themselves at that point?
Yeah, I wonder if Destiny 2. I wonder if Destiny's still around. Like, I wonder if Destiny 2 is still happening while Marathon comes out.
No, I think
I
think Final
it's called-
Shape is. Yeah,
Go ahead,
Final
man.
Shape's the final DLC.
That'd
I
be
think
raw.
so. But I think
it's
they want to move on. Well, I think they're being told they have to move on. I don't know if they want to move on. We know recently, like
big.
the guy who, Friends Per Second, like Skill Up, Lucy James, and all them's podcast, like they had Destiny 2's game director on like maybe a year or a little less ago, and that dude left recently. So obviously something's going on that he wanted no part of. And he was like, so if you watch that interview, he was over the moon with enthusiasm about the future of Destiny, and then he left. So that's just like, I don't have much faith.
I
Yeah,
want to
it's-
believe, but I just feel like it's too big of an IP to just
I
say.
was gonna say
"Okay,
that's what
we're
I was
done."
about to say. It's so hard to move away from Destiny. Even Destiny 2, where people are like all the time, we're like that game like isn't good anymore. Like its peak players on Steam this last month was 75,000. That's a lot for a live service game. Like most live service games would dream to hit that peak still, and that's just on Steam. Like Destiny 2 is still giant, even with all its issues. Imagine if it was just good again, what it would do. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Because like you always ask a Destiny player, "Oh, do you like the game?" No.
yeah, and they're still playing. Like even the beginning of this year, January, it had over 100,000 peak again. Like Destiny's still so big, and I feel like it doesn't feel as big anymore because at least in our groups, and we know no one who's playing Destiny. So like on the Twitter stage, like no one's really posting Destiny. I know Paul Tassi or whatever is still in Destiny, and he will post about it. But like
He's stuck.
it doesn't feel as big because it's a lot of the hardcore still there, and less casuals just posting or playing the game. But I still feel like the Destiny IP is gigantic, and like maybe Bungie does want to like move away from it at some point, but it's kind of like how it's kind of like them with Halo. You don't just move, you just leave Halo unless you're forced off by Microsoft or so forth. But like, you don't really just want to get up and be like, hey, this IP that makes so much money still, even if it's going through like every franchise as big as this is going to go through moments where it's just like, hey, these are the dark days for a couple of years. We're not pushing out as much as we want to, but if you push through it and get through it, like the franchise itself, Destiny, the foundation is still so good that they can get through moments like this and just skyrocket again.
I think it really comes down to I think there's two timelines here. There's the timeline where Final Shape does well, and then there's the timeline where it doesn't. If it doesn't, I think it's gonna be a big situation where Marathon gets delayed, and I think they might try to do a Destiny 3 at that point. And I don't know how well that'll go. We've talked about Destiny 3 in the past, how it's kind of hard to just start working on Destiny 3. That's going to take multiple years of like just completely shifting the timeline. But if it might be like their nuclear strategy if things still aren't going well after Final Shape.
Is Bungie still making that rumored like Marvel game, or no? Like that's not happening.
Marvel? They have that Tencent game.
They have a couple. They also have. I feel like the Marvel one got canned forever ago, but I remember they had like Marathon was not rumored, but they were working on like a PvP game, which ended up probably being Marathon. They had like that single player project.
No, that got Bungie's single player project.
Yeah, did
That
that get
was
canceled?
it got canceled.
Oh,
Oh well, shit. There it
that
goes.
was the most hype for. I was
Yeah.
hyped for one. I would
Same.
love a single player Bungie game.
Yeah, the article said that was canceled, and there was a smaller thing that was started up, and then that got canceled. Now it's all hands on deck for Marathon to make it hit because they don't know if it doesn't.
There's another one I see on the Wikipedia, untitled team-based action game. I think that's the what's it called, the Tencent game.
Yeah, and apparently, if Marathon doesn't, they need Marathon next year, or else like apparently there's going to be like a reckoning.
My man said reckoning.
Well, I just hope for their sake. They're so talented. It almost feels like they just lack motivation. I don't know. I feel like
I mean, it's rough. That's so much crap they have to deal with every single day. It feels like.
yeah, they're kind of like I don't know. It almost feels like because Bungie has jumped to Xbox and independent to like thinking about being back to Xbox to PlayStation. They're always like I don't know. It just seems like they're almost always too over their head at times. and they're not like fully like they never scale down. They always try to scale up, and it's like maybe Bungie, you gotta like lay back a little bit and let's take a chill pill and realize like you guys are really good, but maybe just ask for help. Bungie takes me as the guy that like could have an entire workload of nonsense on him, but he would never ask for help. He'd just say, "Nah, I got it. I got it. That's all."
100%. Well, we'll see. Moving on. Larian has said it's moving on from Baldur's Gate to make a new thing. This comes from Tom Ivan over at VGC. The studio has no plans for Baldur's Gate 3 DLC, expansions, or a sequel. Larian Studios CEO Sven Vinke has said the company is moving on from Baldur's Gate and the Dungeons & Dragons universe. Speaking at GDC, the Baldur's Gate 3 director said the company has no plans for make DLC. Come on, man. What's with the typos here? Expansions, or a sequel to one of last year's best-selling and most critically acclaimed game. Instead, the Belgian? Oh, that's the first time hearing that they're Belgian. It's the Belgian indie developer and publisher, also known for its Divinity RPG series, wants to work on something new. Quote, "We are a company of big ideas. We are not a company that's made to create DLCs or expansions." He said, quote, we tried that actually a few times. It failed every single time. It's not our thing. Life is too short. Our ambitions are very large. Baldur's Gate will always have a warm spot in our heart. We'll forever be proud of it, but we're not going to continue in it. We're not going to make new expansions, which everybody is expecting. We're not going to make Baldur's Gate 4, which everybody is expecting us to do. We're going to move on. We're going to move away from D&D, and we're going to start making a new thing. Fusion, does this mean we're getting Divinity 3?
That's how I took it, but I think I think a lot of people I've seen on Twitter a lot. People are like, "Why would you leave the Baldur's Gate IP?" Blah blah blah, and then I'm seeing a lot of people under it be like, "Guys, you should check out the world they created themselves. That's really good. Like Divinity's their baby. They made it. They can do whatever they want with it. Baldur's Gate, they still have to deal with like Wizards of the Coast and like a bunch of other stuff where they have to like stick to that. If they go back to the Divinity world, they can take everything they learned from Baldur's Gate 3, put it into their own universe, and like actually do they could have done what they wanted with Baldur's Gate, but you know what I mean? Like everything is theirs. From top to bottom, it's just like the characters, the world, everything in this game we made ourselves. So I'm assuming that's what they'll do because they always said they were going to go back to Divinity at some point. And I doubt they would throw in another universe before they would go back to Divinity. It doesn't seem like something Larian would do. So if I had to make an actual educated guess, I'm like, okay, they're going to work on Divinity Original Sin 3.
Like you mentioned, they don't want to work with Wizards of the Coast. And as we've kind of seen, just if you don't follow it, but like from what I heard from a lot of my friends in D&D and like Magic the Gathering and just all the other Wizards of the Coast things, that company is, especially Hasbro, is a bitch to work for. And they don't want to work with them, most likely. And they were just like, you know what, let's do our own thing. Let's try to avoid like, because with a license, you still got to pay the people you're licensing. Divinity, if they make Divinity 3 or a new RPG maybe, they get all the profit. They get all the like possibilities, the royalty, every single thing goes to them unless they get like maybe a publisher. But I think they want to have that creative freedom.
And honestly, it's so smart if you think about it, because now that Baldur's Gate 3 is as big as it is, Game of the Year, so many people love it, so many people adore it. If you can get those people now to be loyal to you as a game maker and say, hey, here's this third game in our own universe, our own thing, you're bringing in so many people that can now be committed to what you made. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, think of the millions of people around the world now they can bring and showcase what they made themselves. Where they're like, hey, we loved working on Baldur's Gate and working with that IP and working with those ideas. But now you can see what our brains created, what we created as creators.
This thing's definitely going to be like a few years out
for
a while.
Wow. I mean they're fast. They're decently fast with their game, I guess, because Original Sin 1 was 2014. Original Sin 2 was 2017. So those were 3 years apart. And then Baldur's Gate early access launched, I think, 2020. So like that was like 3 years, but then the full release was 2023. So that was like a 6-year gap between those games. But I feel like they work faster than a lot of these studios, but it's also the scenario where if they want the games to get bigger, which I don't know how you get your games bigger at this point, there is always like, hey, it takes another year or two compared to the last one.
I was about to ask, do they go even bigger, or they're like, okay, let's scale it down? Because I know they said like, it's in our company's DNA. We have to go bigger and bigger with each release. At least that's kind of what I parsed out from the GDC talk.
I don't know if they'll scale down, but maybe just stay in the range. I feel like a lot of people like the range they're in. I don't know, but because every game they've made is 100 hours. It's like genuinely every single one. So here's 100 hours.
Hey, I'll be there. I'm very excited to see it. And then we get some sales. Just a quick sales update on a lot of stuff. Chris Scullion of VGC has this. Helldivers 2 is USA's best-selling game of the year so far, with nearly 60% of the sales on PC. Have you guys looked at the sales charts yet?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to try to have you guys guess. But before we do that, let me read the article. As shared on X by Matt Piscatella of Circana, formerly NPD. The co-op shooter took the top spot in the best-selling premium games, best-selling PlayStation games, and most played game on Steam charts for the month. Despite its February 8th release date, it also topped the chart for the best-selling premium games in the US for the year-to-date, taking both January and February sales into the account. Piscatella also pointed out that more copies of Helldivers 2 were sold on Steam than PS5, with PC sales accounting for nearly 60% of copies sold. And then we have the actual thread from Matt Piscatella in the top, I think this is 20, if I can count. No, this is top 18. Wait, hang on. I got to open a whole new article. Give me 1 second. Yeah, okay, this is top 20. February 2024 US top 20 best-selling games. And this includes all games coming out. What do you guys think so far? So Helldivers 2 is number 1. What's number 2?
Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
Yeah, Rebirth is number 2. Rebirth. And then what else from there?
Like a Dragon?
Like a Dragon is Persona? Not here.
Wow. Wait, Like a Dragon didn't make it?
There's no shot. Oh my god, I hate video games. Video game fans suck.
I thought like Atlas came out and was like, this sold really well.
Well, no, Like a Dragon. Persona made it. Persona 3 Reload is number 9. Infinite.
How far does the list go down? 10?
It goes to 20. But we can just do top 10.
And it wasn't even top 20. I see. Call of Duty's there. It's always somewhere.
Modern Warfare 3 is number 3.
Wow.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Mario Kart 8 is number 17. Also, some of these don't even include digital sales, by the way. I should point that out.
Does The Last of Us Part 2 count?
Anything that comes out and Last of Us Part 2 is not on here.
Tekken 8?
Tekken 8 is number 5. God bless. That is awesome for Tekken 8. Number 5.
Is Hogwarts Legacy still selling really well?
Hogwarts Legacy is on this list. I just gotta find it.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Number 10.
I gotta play that.
Number 10 is crazy still. That game's over a year
Hunter
old.
fans are crazy.
Yeah.
There's one that's very interesting that I don't think you guys
Unicorn?
would guess.
Unicorn Overlord?
Unicorn was March. This is just February games.
Oh, okay.
Or this is not just February games, but it's like February only.
This is also Rebirth was only the first like day or two as well, which is pretty crazy.
That
Spider-Man
was like 2 days. Spider-Man?
Yeah, Spider-Man 2.
Oh no, it's number 13.
That's pretty good. It's still selling.
There's one on here that I'm actually mad.
Prince of Persia?
What came out in February?
There's no Prince of Persia isn't on here because gamers suck.
I'm gonna say it because I don't think it's on there, but it came out February. Skull and Bones is.
Skull and Bones Fusion. You want to know something funny? It's number 4.
That's insane.
This
is why the gaming industry is dying.
Number 4.
Gaming is
Infinite Wealth isn't on this list.
It's more than Tekken 8 apparently.
Suicide Squad probably also. That was February, right?
Suicide Squad is number 7.
Dude.
Which honestly, that's low for Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's low, but it's still high for like my life.
A bad game.
Like,
This just goes to show how like of a minority we are to the general gaming audience who just wanders into GameStop, sees Suicide Squad, sees a pirate game, and is like, "Oh, I'll take that one."
It is surprising that Persona 3 Reload is number 9 then, honestly. But like, I mean, it is very popular.
I think Game Pass took a chunk because you're saying those are physical sales, right?
It's physical and digital, except for like certain companies like an eShop. Nintendo doesn't give.
But even then, I'm pretty sure Game Pass took a big chunk out of that.
I can read through the rest. Number 6 was Madden NFL 24. God, Fusion, come on. Number 8. This is the weird one. FF7 Remake and Rebirth Twin Pack. That was counted as a separate release.
Huh.
So
interesting.
Rebirth basically got 2 spots in the top 10.
So they cheated, is what I'm hearing.
100%.
What was
Yes.
counted?
The remake and rebirth twin pack.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
That's okay.
Oh,
dude.
what? He always
Whoa,
pays
watch out.
attention. This is the one I'm a little annoyed at. As I said earlier, Mario vs. Donkey Kong was number 11.
Wow.
More than Infinite Wealth.
I
a
forgot
remake
that
of
came out
the
already. I'll be
I forgot
honest.
that game. I forgot that
Yeah.
game out.
$50.
But once again, it's the normie thing of, oh, Mario on the cover, new game, let's get it.
Listen, man, let's calm down because I was almost that normie.
Who's going with that guy?
EA Sports FC was 12. Is that the racing one?
That's soccer.
There's no.
That's
Wait,
FIFA.
oh, because Football Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's FIFA.
God, I hate the new name.
Yeah.
Elden Ring number 14, as God intended.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, Mario Wonder at 15, not including digital sales, by the way, from Mario Kart or Mario Wonder or Mario vs. Donkey Kong. So that just shows it's like there's probably sold a lot more. Minecraft at 16, that's Infinite. Mortal Kombat 1 at 18. Rainbow Six Siege at 19. That game's always on sale, though. And then Frontiers of Pandora is 20, which...
Wow, Avatar's still in the top 20?
Because it took a recent price cut. Like at my Walmart, I saw it for like $40. So probably some people jumped on it then.
I'll
Nice.
check, and I'll go real quick with the year-to-date games. So right now, Helldivers 2 is the best-selling game of the year. Yeah, granted, the year is 2 months, but still. Deserved, yeah. And then Modern Warfare 3 at number 2. Undeserved. Tekken 8 at 3. Rebirth at 4. Suicide Squad at 5. Madden NFL at 6. Persona 3 Reload at 7. Hogwarts Legacy at 8. Skull and Bones at 9. And then FIFA at 10. Are there any surprises in that top 10?
What was that list again?
From 10 to 1, EA Sports FC, Skull and
No,
Bones.
I'm not talking
Legacy.
about what's on it. Say what is the list?
Oh, for a year to date.
Oh, year to date. Okay.
Yeah, so just the first 2 months of the year. Which honestly, Tekken 8, I'm just happy that's number 3. That's very big for that game.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Skull and Bones. Why did we?
Yeah.
What is that?
Hopefully next month when we check like the marches, it's not on the list.
Or at least
Like,
just
it
not in the
goes
top
up.
10.
It just goes up. It goes up
It's
in a
number
second.
1.
Becomes the next Wii Sports.
Yeah, really. Moving on. Actually, real quick before I move on, Helldivers 2, that sold even better than I expected. I'll be honest with you guys.
Oh yeah, I was expecting it just to be a moderate success, and no, this thing is blowing everything out of the water right now.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm very excited. I'm very happy that team deserves it. The CEO is talking about the flying bugs on Twitter. I was laughing my ass off because he's like, "Oh, I apologize for my earlier comments about them not existing."
Oh yeah, it was funny. They put out like a propaganda poster that says it's like recent rumors of like flying bugs, and it's like a thumbs up guy going, "Yeah, they don't fly." Oh, it was the funniest thing.
And then there was what was it? Sex was banned because they recently fucked up a takeover. So it's like, yeah, we're banning reproduction. I love this fucking game. That game is incredible. Moving on, we got our reviews of the week, and this is gonna actually be a sizable chunk because we got 4 games that came out this week. I know 4.
What?
There's the big 3 of March 22nd, but Alone in the Dark came out this week as well.
I forgot.
Published by THQ Nordic. Let me tell you guys, have you looked at the reviews Open Critic score yet?
I skimmed some of the like Open Critic people who left reviews.
Wait, is that the Stranger Things guy?
Yeah,
Yeah,
David Harbour.
David Harbour, yeah.
Yeah. See, I know an actor. Look at me.
He did. He's a good actor in though too.
Yeah, I liked him in Stranger Things season 1.
How did this get 100 reviews? And
listen,
these other games just don't have that much.
It's really short. It's like 5 hours, I think.
It really? Wait,
Give us a
haven't even
review
looked.
code. We'll review it.
We'll give it a 10 because we need more review
Where
codes.
do you see 100 reviews at?
View all 101 critic reviews.
Holy shit. 6.5 hours for the main story, 9 hours for the main and extra.
Yeah, so it's currently at a 63 on Open Critic. Eurogamer gave it a 2 out of 5. IGN a 6. Games radar a 1.5 out of 5, which basically means the game is barely functional. 4 out of 10 from GameSpot. 6axis gave it a 5 out of 10. Guys, I think I might skip this one.
I did not know it was gonna be like. I was guessing like. I actually think I guessed like 76 at the time. I was like, oh, it'd probably be decent enough, like good, but not like great. I didn't think it was gonna be this.
Yeah, I think we all guessed like somewhere in like the mid 70s.
Yeah, I just thought it would be like a random release, like no one was talking about it. I watched Critical play it the other night, and it's like, god damn, that game looked awful.
Which is actually so funny because I'm pretty sure Bop at the time was like, he put it super low, maybe like a 59 or something crazy, and then someone commented on him and was like, you must not have played the original Alone in the Dark or something, like it won't get this low, and now it's this low. It's like
the original Alone in the Dark is like this cemental horror game from like 1992. It predated Resident Evil. It's very important to horror games, but this remake, barely any press around it other than David Harbour. So it's like, oh, that's something to sell it, but other than that, no one was talking about it, and it just felt like whenever the gameplay came out, it was like unimpressive. It looked like an unimpressive Resident Evil clone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not too surprised with it.
Speaking of unimpressive Resident Evil clones, where's Silent Hill?
God, that's that. We're gonna have to wait for that one. And then next, another quicker one. Princess Peach Showtime. This is the first of the March 22nd joints. This is at a 78 on OpenCritic, so around what I expected. IGN gave it a 7, Eurogamer a 4 out of 5, GameSpot a 7, Destructoid an 8, IGN Italy, which is a separate review site, 7.5, and this is a 43 critic reviews, so it didn't actually get that many review codes. This was developed by Goodfeel, the guys who did the Yoshi's Crafted World,
And
Woolly
it's also
World,
their worst reviewed
Kirby's
game.
Return. Is it? No,
Yoshi's Crafted World got an 80.
Who the fuck gave it an 80? That game sucks ass.
Apparently this is worse.
I mean, I've been like saying what other people have been saying, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of mediocre in the first half, but apparently it opens up in the second half. I'm just kind of tired of that. I'm like, okay, listen, man, I'm a sucker for like, I can deal with a game, I can like deal with the bad parts, but like you can't just look at me with a straight face and say it gets good in the second half. It's like it should be good all around.
At that point, you're just falling into like what's that? Like, what's that phrase where it's like you're boiling in water, and at some point you just get used to it.
Yeah,
kind of that scenario.
I've seen a lot of people really high on it by the end. I saw one tweet that was funny. It's like, it's Balan Wonderworld, but good. And it's like, hey, you know what? I like Balan Wonderworld. So
we're definitely not the target audience as well. So
kids. This is a kids game at the end of the
also,
day.
it already has like it already has a time to beat on here. It's main story 7 hours. Completion is 15 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Field game. That's usually how long their games are. It is funny. I saw a tweet where it was like, all these big games on March 22nd, and Princess Peach is probably going to be the best selling one.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not surprising. This is definitely, I was going to say, it's a sale game for me, but
same.
What's that sale?
Black Friday, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could, because it doesn't have Mario, Zelda, or Pokemon in the title. It's going to go on sale come like Black Friday.
What's this roast towards Princess Peach? You're telling me she can't sell a game on her own? What is this sexism, huh?
Cancelled.
Moving on. Rise of the Ronin. We talked about the previews the other week, and now we got our actual review score with 62 critic reviews, sitting at a 76. Lower than Princess Peach, I'll be honest, but more reviews. IGN gave it a 7. Metro Game Central gave it a 7. VG247 a 3 out of 5. Pretty much looks like 7s all across the board, and this is kind of what I expected, especially. Yeah, and this is kind of what I expected after that preview period. I know Greg Miller at Kind of Funny was like enjoying it a lot, but it definitely seems like hey, if you like open world slop, it's going to be good open world slop. And that's not to say slop in a derogatory way. It's just like your Assassin's Creeds, your Far Cry's, that type of Ubisoft style game. If you're into those games, then it's definitely a worthwhile journey. But this definitely seems like a good $30 to $40 game. Something I would pick up later. I am interested in checking this one out. It's just surprisingly like we were talking about it before.
There's like I'm now building up a backlog of games that I'm gonna pick up at like a buy two get one free sale at GameStop. I got Banishers, now I got Rise of the Ronin. I think I had a third game, but I can't remember what it was now.
Well, you got to get that third game for that buy two get one free, man.
Yeah, I know. I think I had one, but maybe not. Maybe I don't. Maybe I have to wait for something else to come out and be incredibly mid.
I mean, listen, I'm playing Days Gone right now, and I was talking about it on the podcast. It's like I have a problem because this open world slop kind of appeals to me. So now I'm looking at this as like, hey, man, open world slop, samurai setting, kind of one of my favorite periods in history.
Sekiro combat
has one of my favorite periods in history, which is America coming into Japan and that whole like dispute. I love that shit. So I'm like, you know what? Matthew Perry, and I love Team Ninja. I'm a fanboy of Team Ninja, so. I'm interested in checking it out when it's on sale, but I'm not doing this for $70.
Yeah, it's definitely an on sale game. But I mean, when I play it, it's going to be like have a podcast on and probably come away really enjoying my time.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be too surprised if this is in my top 10 by the end of the year. Just not right now because it's $70. Come on, man. I got groceries. But we got to talk about the big boy. At least it seems like it was the big boy over on Twitter because there was a lot to talk about with this game. Dragon's Dogma 2, Capcom joint, one that we've been talking about for a while. It's sitting at an 89 on OpenCritic. IGN gave it an 8, Eurogamer a 5 out of 5, Metro Game Central a 7, Game Informer a 9 out of 10, GameSpot a 9 out of 10, PC Gamer 89 out of 100. So very high review scores all across the board. But then, check out that Steam page. It's a different tale. Last I checked, it was a mostly negative, and I guess we could unpack it. There is a lot about microtransactions and debate there. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean,
it's less about the microtransactions, more about the performance.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the performance was one of the things, but also all I saw on Twitter was fucking people complaining about the microtransactions. Go ahead, but
it's definitely like microtransactions. You obviously don't have to buy them, and I do think it's something to like criticize because I mean Capcom's also been doing this for all their past games, so it's nothing new. But I do think for an open world game, it's slightly more. It's also a game that's going to crack that other sphere that maybe some of their other games don't, and I think it's going to get criticized for that. But like mostly negative on Steam, and I'll get into my thoughts later. Well, I'm only 4 hours in, but like I think people are overreacting to the point where it's being annoying.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. This is definitely a debate that was sparked over, I'll be honest, kind of a whole lot of nothing. Because, as you mentioned, this isn't every Capcom game. And I don't like it. I should make my stance clear. I think microtransactions are the worst thing to ever happen to gaming. I hate them. But this is every Capcom game. They're useless. They don't do anything. They're all stuff that you can get in the game. And it's just like, it'd be better if they weren't there. 100% agree, but I also think people are like saying like it's pay to win. You can only access the character creator through the microtransactions, which isn't the case. You can get the character creator, like you can change your character in the game. It's just like supposedly time savers and whatnot, which again I don't like. But I think the overblown reaction on Twitter, especially, which obviously Twitter isn't a real place to ignore it. But even then, like I think people are like making such a major spark over something that isn't as major of a thing. I think a conversation is good. I think we can have a conversation. But my question is, why didn't we have this conversation with Resident Evil 4 remake? Which
I think
also
there was. I think there was. We just kind of forgot about it because it just kind of moved. We just moved on. Which this will happen with Dragon's Dogma. Like, come time next week, it'll be mostly blown over.
And it's already the review score's already rising as well. So,
and I also think it's kind of not overblown, but like it's exuded and increased because of the PC performance, which apparently it's not a good PC port. As a critical trying to play it last night, couldn't do it. It was really sad to watch it happen. I saw a lot of like people were just really struggling with the performance where they couldn't even get it at like what was it like they couldn't even get it 1080p running on their like max rigs, which is insane to me for a game in 2024.
You know what I think it possibly well, not all of it, but part of it is this is probably the first game of 2024 and probably in a while to where we had the general audience for it had like very high expectations going into it. And then suddenly right at the finish line, boom, poor performance, boom, dumb microtransactions, boom, bunch of other things. and so it tripped over its own feet. And it's the first game in quite a while to do that. All the other games that are like received well, like Infinite Wealth, Persona, Rebirth, Tekken, they all did what they wanted. And all the bad games that we expected to be bad, like Suicide Squad, Skull and Bones, were just bad that we knew. I think this is the first game in quite a while that people had high hopes and expectations for, and then it like I said, tripped over its own feet.
I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, it's got poor performance, but I mean, the game is good, and that I don't like people.
Yeah,
are
but I'm
saying
saying
it's
this
their
is the
game of
first
year.
game to where it's such a big profile game that people were expecting, and then here it comes with this poor performance. So I think it's just it's built up anger of like, finally something I can target with my hatred, and we got a target out of that from Dragon's Dogma.
Oh yeah, but like Suicide Squad had that.
Yeah,
like,
but Suicide Squad wasn't expected to be a good game.
Yeah, we knew that was gonna be poopy.
That's what I'm saying. This is the first we were expecting a good game and we didn't, in terms of like performance and scummy things like microtransactions.
The funniest thing about the Steam reviews to me is like mostly negative, but this game has 180,000 people playing it right now. Mostly negative, but these people are eating it up. They're in there. They're playing it.
It's Capcom's highest concurrent player count for a PC release on Steam.
I think it's just a single player game. I think there's some multiplayer with higher.
Oh, okay, yeah, might be wrong then. I mean, Fusion, you've been kind of quiet. Do you have any thoughts on that whole situation? Or just Dragon Dogma 2?
Just to jump over, it's not just single player. It is everything. It's Capcom's biggest game by far. Even if Monster Hunter's World peak was 60,000.
That was also a late PC port, I think.
Yeah, and Dragon Dogma 2's at peak right now is 200,000. But I think maybe Resident Evil 4 Remake actually might have been their best one. Let me check real quick. Resident Evil 4 was actually. Let me check.
I mean,
it
is
doesn't matter.
unfortunate. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's more microtransaction, whatever. I think it is kind of blown out of proportion because they've done it in the past. As long as you can earn that thing in game, I don't have a huge issue with it. It's just kind of annoying, and I think because the type of game Dragon Dogma 2 is, where they already limit fast travel, they already limit the pawn system, they already put so many limits on you, where it feels like your casual gamer is going to be like, oh, they put these limits on you, so you have to pay money. But the people who play Dragon Dogma, like the first one, they're just like, no, this is how Dragon Dogma's always been. Like, this is the game. This is what you're getting into. But Dragon Dogma 2 is now past the cult following. It's now like in the mainstream of games. It's now people who were like, oh, this looks like Elden Ring. This is getting Elden Ring level hype of an open world game. I'm going to jump in. They now see these microtransactions and they're like, wait, this sucks. We're like, Dragon Dogma's fans are like, whatever. Like, we don't care. It's not affecting my playthrough. Like, I always knew they were going to do something silly like that. It doesn't matter. My thing is the performance side, where like, obviously, the game's not in a it's not in a broken state. It's not like unplayable by any means. I'm just so tired of $70 video games coming out, and I'm watching Digital Foundry videos of this game hitting 20 FPS on a consistent basis on the consoles. You're hitting 20 FPS, dude. This game is $70. I don't care if your RE engine and your game looks pretty. It can look pretty and play well, just like 100 other devs do. Like, there's so many times where I feel like we're giving developers a break or saying like, hey, they wanted to lean in hard on the fidelity, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Figure it out. Delay your game. Do something. We see it all the time from devs that actually care and want their game to be playable. That's my biggest issue with this thing. I think there is a lot of nonsense around the microtransaction stuff. Whatever. People have their opinion about it. If they want to review bomb the game because of that and they feel strongly about it, be my guest. But for the people who are like sick of performance issues, especially when like you build a $2,000 PC and it's like struggling to run a game that should easily be able to run it, when you have games like Horizon Forbidden West coming out the same day today that just looks brilliant and it's better and it just hits the frames across everything because they actually know how to port games and they know how to do it because they spent the time and go through the motions. It's just annoying to be like, hey, I'm going to spend $70 on this and get the worst version, because it feels like month after month, if you're the first person to buy it, you're a guinea pig at this point. You're jumping in early to get around the conversation, but you're getting the worst version of these games. And it's like, how long before we like stop buying games day one? How long before people stop pre-ordering games? Like, how many times do you have to refund the game on Steam before you just stop getting burnt and wait? and like hope that the devs understand, hey, we either have to start delaying game more, which will suck. We're gonna get less games, but we're gonna get better products at the end of the day.
I should be able to cap this game at 30 on my PS5. That just should be an option.
I just don't understand why the frame rate isn't even capped. Like it's like, oh, it's uncapped. It's like, no, keep it at 30 or not have it capped.
Let's uncap it so it hurts my eyes even more when you go from like 30 to 40 to 12. What?
It's insane. Like I can see the fluctuations in the frame rate, and just let me cap it. And hopefully,
if Bench can see them, we're dead, Fusion.
Yeah, we're doomed.
Like I can see the fluctuations in the frame rate, and sometimes, it does hurt my eyes.
And it's like
now you
silly.
Get us.
Yeah, like silly. I get it. There's a line where it's like you can go around and kill the NPCs and improve your frame rate. I get it. It's silly, funny game. Video games are fun. That also is bad game design. Like that's just stupid. Oh, yeah. That's like your game is not optimized if you have to go out of your way to do that. I'm watching Digital Foundry videos where the pop-in is absurd. You think Rebirth had pop-in issues? This is like you're walking up to the NPC, they just appear. They're just there because they're so like. It's just unoptimized. It's not great but their excuse every single time is just like, but look how pretty it is, or they didn't care about how it ran because they care about the visuals. But we see hundreds of studios that can do both. Don't tell me you don't have the talent or the budget. This is Capcom, of all people. They have both. They can figure it out. They just don't want to figure it out.
Just run it at a lower resolution. Like it's like I'm fine with 1080p. Do it
at
1080p
for 60 FPS. I really was like, just do it.
I would do that. I don't care. Like, just give me 60. That's all I care about. And like, I don't want to have to always do this song and dance of like every game release is like, oh, it's not 60 at launch. Oh, it's not 60 at launch. It's like, no, make it a 60 at launch. Because every fucking other developer, like a bunch of other developers, Spider-Man 2 is like, hey, there's 60, there's 45, there's 30, all this stuff.
120? Like, they have everything.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like all these other developers are able to do it. You're fucking Capcom. Optimize your game.
Listen, if FromSoft is going to go out of the way and give me like modes of graphics or performance, I think Capcom should be able to.
Yeah. Like, it's insane. No, because I don't think it's a big.
I know, I'm just playing.
Because like this is the RE engine. I understand it's the first time in open world, but the Resident Evil games are so optimized. I mean, they're optimized. Some of the best of the generation. You can load that up on your PlayStation, get incredible frames. They have that mode where it's like performance something, where it's like you can play that game at like 90 FPS on your PS5. It looks great, runs great. I understand this game is a bigger scale and it's open world and you're loading in NPCs and everything in the background. It's going to be harder to run, but like, figure it out. I understand you always have to meet deadlines and you have to do this from the business side, but when some devs just realize, hey, we can just genuinely keep delaying this game until it's ready. Or like until we feel confident enough for like the performance, because what's going to happen, hopefully at the very least, is that this does get fixed. It is better in like 4 months from now. And it's like, why did all the people who jumped in, who probably still enjoyed it day one, but why do all the people who jump in day one have to be like getting the worst version of it? When it's like, I can wait. The rest of us can wait 4 months from now. Binks probably will have a great time, played it, enjoyed it, but he still objectively played the worst version of the game compared to the rest of us just waited a few months. We're just getting the game how it should have been at launch. And it's like, for probably $30 compared to all the people who are like, hey, we're going to pay $70 and have issues.
I do think that this game, if no performance issues, this game could have cracked 90.
Like, it was a 90 when it launched. Like the first 30 or so reviews, it was sitting at 92. It was at 92 for a decent amount of time.
Like I think this could have it's like 90.
Because it's clear this is a great game. There's a great game at that core, but all these silly things like frame rate. We can't even get frame rate at a consistent basis. At this point, like, okay, fine, 30, at least a consistent 30.
Yeah, they should have expected 30. It's weird that they did the unlock stuff.
It's just insane to me. It's frustrating. I mean, I'm waiting on it. Fusion, you're also waiting on it because it's like,
I'm waiting on it.
What reason? Like you said, we're guinea pigs if we're gonna buy it day one. It's clearly unoptimized. I can wait a couple months. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm about to start Rebirth soon because of that patch that recently came out.
Exactly, you waited. I should have waited. Loki, I should have waited.
I don't know. I loaded it up and thought it looked worse.
Oh wow! I saw
On
I saw a
performance?
video that someone said it looked that I saw a video and it looked a lot better to me, but
Might be my eyes, but I don't know.
Wait, on performance?
Yes,
the new performance sharp mode looked a lot better to me.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know. It's
But
just
either way, it's still like you say, you waited and you're going to play a better version of the game that came out 3 weeks ago. Like that's just annoying to people like me who spent the $70 to buy it day one. There's obviously, like I said, there's pros of getting a game day one other than just the game, like the performance. You get in the conversation early, you get ahead of spoilers. There's a lot of pros to it, but like still the con is, hey, you're playing the worst version of said video game. That's a large con.
exactly. Hopefully, things get better for the game, especially from a performance standpoint, and we can finally play a version of the game that could run at 60 maybe. Who knows? That performance.
I was so
mode.
in. Like I was very close to the FOMO of being like, hey, especially that the day reviews dropped that night. I'm like, dude, like I can find the $70. I'm like, I can get the $70 this month. I can put out. But then once I started to read more about like performance not that great on PC, but I'm like, nah, there's just not worth it right now when I can just play so many games that are out. That's the thing. All these games are fighting for your time so much. If they don't hit you for the initial $70, like they're trying so hard to hit you for that initial 70 so they get full price revenue, so they get the full thing back on you. Once they miss for me, I'm like, well, I'll wait 5 months for your game $30. Like, if I'm not there day one, I'm usually there month 5. It's not like I wait 2 weeks. I'm there like months later.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
I can talk about my time with Dragon's Dogma.
No, you're not allowed.
Yeah, it's our next segment. You're not allowed. That's fucked, Fusion. No, go ahead, Vince.
So I'm like 4 hours in, very early on. I'm like playing like the fighter, and I'm like one of the animal dudes. But so far, I'm kind of mixed because like frame rate and stuff aside, it feels very linear right now. Like I'm hearing all these like great side quests and reviews, and how like there's discovery. You're never gonna feel bored because there's always something to do. And right now, I'm just like, I don't know where they're coming from with that. Maybe I'm still in like the tutorial, like someone has told me. But I mean, just I'm getting kind of like pushed in this like open zone linear type thing to go to this place, and nothing truly feels like super duper open. So, and I just like got to that area. I'm like 4 hours in, so I'm like very early.
A tutorial more than 4 hours is an L in my opinion.
I
cannot deal with that anymore.
It feels very slow, and I hope I come back next week with like a better opinion, because I am gonna like stick with it. Because I mean, I hear there's like cool monsters and cool fights, but right now I'm also just fighting cannon fodder, harpies, and goblins, and I feel like one cyclops. Like no real big exciting fights have happened in my first 4 hours, and kind of exploring with like no real rewards, so it doesn't feel like super rewarding or worth my time. And I did like 2 or 3 side quests, and it was like, I mean, it was all right, but I didn't like fight anything special or anything. So, and I'm hopefully that it's like, okay, I'm kind of getting to the end of that, and it's really gonna open up and have like a Breath of the Wild moment maybe. But that's where I'm sitting at right now, lower than I wanted to be.
I'll ask just through the panel, what of the March 22nd games are you the most interested in at this moment? Bench, I mean, you went with Dragon's Dogma too, so I'm assuming that's your pick. I would say of the 3, even though Rise of the Ronin, I like my open world slop, and I'm a sucker for a good feel game when it's not Yoshi's Crafted World, because that game fucking sucked. I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is still the one I'm most interested in, but let's get that performance patch out. That's really what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's still Dragon Dogma, and it might only be Dragon Dogma 2. I'll be honest. Like, I was never gonna play.
Nothing for you.
Yeah, I was like, Rise of the Ronin was always that one to me where I was lower on it than you guys, and I was like, if it scored probably just a little higher, like even mid 80s, I would be like, I would have more want to play it. But Rise of the Ronin seems like a game for me where it's like 2026, the summer. I'm like, I'm gonna play Rise of the Ronin. Maybe I'll get to it. Like, but I have no desire to, and I'm like, we don't know. I was never gonna play Princess Peach. So.
Hey, I mean, who knows? You're discounting yourself, Fusion.
Well, my Switch is collecting dust.
Buy a new Switch.
I might. I was gonna probably sell it towards the PS5 Pro, so or
Just
something.
don't
I
talk
don't
to
know.
me. Just don't talk to me. What about you, man?
Is none of the above an answer?
None of
I
them
mean,
seem
like
like
just like
moon games.
just of the
so-
March 22nd, anything that's like the closest to you, because you just talked about Rise of the Road and it's like a sale game,
Yeah,
not like a day one. I'm saying.
it's possible, but like open world, kind of Soulsy combats, like it's kind of a lot of things that aren't really immediately drawn to me. So I don't. And then there's like Princess Peach, where it was just so mind-numbingly simple, and just like neither of them are like, I'll just go back to Rebirth.
And two
But
more
if
months, we got paid.
but if you told me to sit down and play one of them, I guess I would at least try to give Rise of the Ronin a try. So
All right,
Yeah.
high opinions. Mark, do you guys think? Are you a little not? I
Yes.
don't want to say disappointed.
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Yes.
Of like the March 22nd thing, like you were like expecting
Yeah.
more from these games.
Yeah.
because we were going on for months about like this crazy day in March where like three
Yeah.
big games come out, and then they all kind of floundered in their own. It's interesting, they all floundered in different ways.
I honestly thought that Ronan would hit 80, and I am a fan of like open world slop, and will love it for that. But I did think it'd score a little higher.
And you thought Dragon Dogma was getting in the 90s, so like we're gonna
And
miss
honestly,
you on
if
both.
it didn't
It was
have
in the
performance
90s.
issues,
I mean, it was, yeah.
if it didn't have those performance issues, like people talk about it like it's a 90. Like the way people talk about this game, I hope I'm there by the end of it. But right now, I'm not feeling it a whole lot.
Yeah, Fusion, you said you were also disappointed.
Yeah, for the most part, I was like Princess Peach again, whatever. But like I was thinking, this would be. I would say for all three of these games. I was like, and again, review scores don't mean everything. 76 is still great. Like that's a good score for Rise of Ronin. So it's like whatever, but I was still thinking at the very least, the lowest of these games would have been Princess Peach, and to me, I was thinking like 80 or 81. Like honestly, I was thinking all these games. I didn't think any of them was gonna be a 90, but I thought like. So maybe it's not, I don't know if it's a disappointment. It's more of just
Underwhelming.
there's a lack of excitement in the air for March 22nd compared to what I thought. Like on Twitter and everything, no one's talking about Rise of the Ronin right now, and the only thing I'm seeing about Dragon Dogma 2 is the nerds complaining about the microtransactions and the performance. You know?
Well, the performance nerds are right, but like
Well, yeah,
microtransactions overblown as hell.
And then there's the Princess Peach fans eating glue in the corner going,
Yeah,
oh
they're
yeah,
just
this
not
is
even playing
fun.
the game because they're actually children and not on Twitter. So
That is insane, dude. I'm getting strayed. What the hell? I want to play it. It looked fun.
I'm probably gonna try at least attempt because I know
I've
my
played
brother is
kids games
picking it up.
before, they're okay.
Yeah.
Bro, Fusion
Oh.
always he literally like 5 times during all that. It's like, oh, it's Princess Peach. Who? Like, goddamn, man.
I mean, my brother I know is gonna be picking up a copy, so I'll just steal it from him at some point and give it a shot.
Send me that copy.
Nope, you're done with it after 5 hours.
Oh yeah,
my God,
it just reminded me it's
Bro, you
only a
think I'm not gonna
7-hour
complete
game.
it?
You haven't
Oh.
completed a lot this year, Wolf.
I haven't completed a lot.
That's a
Of this
conversation
year's
for another
game.
Do
day.
just be Stanley Parable.
It's 2024
That's a long
games.
No, I
Is
okay.
it?
That's a lie. Wait, hang on. You're lying to me, Benj. I beat Prince of Persia. I beat
Definitely.
Infinite Wealth. I did Persona 3 Reload. I did Tekken 8.
That's 4 right
I've
there.
done-
That's 4 more than me.
That's 2 more than me.
Exactly. so
Yeah,
what do you mean?
exactly. What the fuck are you on me about? Hang on.
Wait,
You
no, wait.
fraud.
I've done 4 as well. I've done Tekken 8, Last of Us 2, Persona 3,
No,
Rebirth.
no.
Last
You don't get
of-
to
no,
say
Last
Last
of
of Us 2. That
Last
is
of Us
not
2
a new
count.
game.
I mean,
That is
it was his
2020.
first time playing it.
It was
Though.
my first time
Fusion,
playing
you're
Last of Us
biased, so
2.
you don't get to say
I didn't
this.
count it on mine because it was a replay for me.
We can also sneak Astro's Playroom in there and just count it for the heck of it.
That's a 2020.
That's not a 2024 game.
That's like no way a 2024 game. Like you can't
Well,
even
at least you
make
can
count
make
it
an
because-
argument for Last of Us. You can't make an argument for Astro Bot.
If you think about it, though, Astro, it comes on your PlayStation, so no matter what year you get it, it's kind of that year. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you get your
He got his
PlayStation.
PlayStation in like 2021.
True. So it's a 2021
2020.
game, buddy. You're
I
done.
got it in 2020.
Whatever.
Fuck off,
Yeah,
I
you
forgot.
can't
Am I
count
the only? Wait, I'm the only one who didn't get it day one. I forgot.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, I still can't believe you couldn't get it because
Dude,
you looked
it
hard
was
enough.
sold out
was
everywhere.
hard.
It was sold out.
literally-
I didn't get my PlayStation 5 for months.
Yeah. So you're not alone, bro. And yeah.
I got lucky, I will say.
Bitch is like, well, you're a PlayStation fan. You should have been able to get it. It's like, fucking, I was. I was literally every single day on
You
Amazon.
tried.
I had Wario 64 notifications, everything.
I got
It was
a
a-
Series X, and that
it was
took
a
like 2 weeks.
It was a 2 a.m. on a random fucking Wednesday in February. And I still remember this. It was so funny. This is just a random side tangent story. But literally, I remember getting the order, and I was like, hell yeah. And then a week later, it was the blizzard in Texas, if you remember that.
Yes,
I was so scared that my PS5 was just not going to come at all. They're like, we
It's
canceled
gonna
it.
come in a
Sorry.
giant ice
But
cube.
did you get it before the blizzard? So like all the time off class? you could
Yeah,
just play
yeah,
it? Yeah. That's,
literally
yeah.
the entire week. I was just like, well, shit. I'm scared out of my mind.
I remember I got
Um,
my Xbox in 2021 when I was in a pre-op for a surgery. I was like, the doctor was in, and I saw it went live, and I copped it.
That's crazy. Going right into surgery. It's like, hey, let me cop this Xbox.
Well, no, this
real
was like the pre-appointment surgery, like not going in, but learning all
Well,
the stuff.
Maybe we'll all get surgery next. Nah, I couldn't think of a funny like
No.
transition. I'm gonna end the episode.
All right, let's end this episode because we're just gonna keep going on tangent. I was gonna go on my tangent of how I got my PlayStation, but it's not as
Oh,
interesting as to surgery. So
That's
anyway,
always one
hope
up.
you all guys enjoyed. Hope whatever game you're playing on this March 22nd or 23rd, now that you're listening to it, that you're enjoying it. And if not, leave a negative Steam review. What do we care? So we'll see you guys on the next episode. As I said at the beginning, will be hopefully a light news week, so we can spend a lot of time bickering on Fantasy Critic on who deserves more points and who pretty much laughing at each other at all the picks. Because I think we spent a lot of time buying things for our team. So we'll have to give an update on
You
everyone's.
guys did.
Yeah,
Wolf
we did.
forgot.
Wolf didn't.
I just forgot. I'm so sorry.
He's gonna buy some stuff down the
Goldfish
upcoming
memory.
week.
It's not a goldfish memory.
Yes,
He just
it
doesn't
is.
care.
Memory. No, I care. I care. I just every time I'm like, okay, well, I should go ahead and do Fantasy Critic when I get home, and then when I get home, I'm like, I'm tired. I want to
It's
play.
like, oh
Days
man, Days Gone.
Gone. Dude, that's what it is. It's like, damn, Days Gone.
I gotta go ride my motorcycle.
Exactly.
All right, so let's end this episode so we can get back to Wolf and his motorcycle. So hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that other good stuff. And we will see you guys on the next episode, or the end of quarter one of the gaming year. So be excited. Say goodnight, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, gang.
Good night.